just to lie there and enjoy maybe while we chat and while we listen.
Yeah, or chit chat. Wow. What did you say the percentage of the humidity was? 40%?
Mm-hmm.
That is wild. What is the benefit of the humidity with the heat?
Just to, again, the heat allows you to open up. Obviously, some regions around the world are a little different. You know, India, a lot of yoga obviously traditionally comes from that. So it's like 80% humidity there all the time. People ask me about the heat all the time. I'm like, well, how can indigenous people be wrong for thousands of years, right? So that's where the heat comes in. For physically for us and where we're at now in life is really allowing your body to open up more. And really, for me and for a lot of people, they come to this practice for different reasons. Some people come because they're trying to heal themselves physically. Other people come for anxiety. Other people, myself, I started doing this to shut my brain up. So to answer your question, getting through a 90-minute class, looking at yourself in the mirror, trying to, and focusing on balancing and all the stuff that we do, holding each posture roughly for a minute the first set, half the time the second set, shut my brain up. And that's for me why I come. And again, everybody's got different reasons. People have come in here to avoid surgeries with back. Look, this isn't I don't like the word miracle because that's ridiculous, but it's not a miracle. But what it does is it helps prevent if you catch it early. And I got a lot of NBA guys and NFL guys who come here, and a lot of them are doing the post, and they all say to me, I wish we had this pre. In other words, in high school, when they were getting ready to go pro, they said, man, it helps my mental game, but it tremendously the physical aspect. And listen, this is for all ages and sizes. I want to be clear about that. I've got 70-something-year-old women in here kicking my butt on a regular basis that do this practice 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I want to be clear about that. It's not about all the pretty bodies and all that nonsense. Again, this is a practice for everyone. It is a rehearsal for a show that is never, ever going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. That's so crazy. I love that it's like so inclusive. All ages, you said, all body types. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about how you both got into it? Were you always yogis? What was your yoga journey like?
Merdith?
Sure. It's funny. The first time I took a yoga class, I was a dancer growing up. And the first time I took a class, I was in my late teens, and I thought it was incredibly boring. I was like, I cannot do this. This is so boring, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a hot class. And I just thought, I'm never going to go back to a class again. And then later, one of my girlfriends drugged me to a hot class, and I looked around the room, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, seems to be a really big challenge. Like, how do these people do this with their bodies? And so that really intrigued me, and I started practicing and went to training, and oh my gosh, this is years ago. So I just want to encourage anyone who takes one class or two classes. Saying you do yoga is kind of like saying you play sports. So my first experience was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. And then when I tried a few different others, that's when I really became addicted. So mine was a little love-hate, turning quickly to love.
Mine's a little deeper in a sense of I was a professional musician for a long time, so I was in the entertainment industry, which at the time also I can say this out loud, and I will, to help those who might be in my past situation or my current situation, which is that, listen, I'm in recovery. I did a lot of drugs, I did a lot of alcohol, and I mean I was in a bad place quick, and a real dark place. So a music manager and friend of mine, she forced me during a time that was really dark for me. And I say all this just to say that, you know, we're all in different places. We all come to things for different reasons. And I've talked about this in public, and so I'm open about it because hopefully that one person will be like, oh, okay. And she forced me to come, literally picked me up and made me go to a Bikram class every day, irritating me. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. It was the worst thing ever. Why are these people doing this to themselves? I mean, I could go on and on and on about how much I hated it. The thing I did like after about 2 weeks of doing this is finally she didn't have to pick me up anymore. She made me meet her her and her husband. So I would meet them at the place because I gave my word, so I would. And then I started kind of going on my own. What I love the most is the sweat. I'd already been clean and away from the drugs and alcohol for a while, but again, I was going through a dark place, and I really attribute this particular practice to helping me stay on that path, because nothing else was really kind of getting my brain to shut up and wanting me to go do other things that I should be doing. And I related to the sweat. For me, as a person in recovery, the sweat is a detox. It's a cleansing. And again, indigenous, nothing new about that. I'm certainly far from that or anything original in anything in my life. And with that, I started feeling good. I started feeling clean. I started feeling healthy, a little bit mentally and a little bit more emotionally than I had been, right? And so I just kept coming. And it was that sweat and the heat for me and that getting through and shutting my brain up that kept me coming back. And then eventually, much like Merdith, it took a little longer, I think, for me. But I really started loving it. And I was still traveling a lot. And what I would do is go, Bikram is one thing. It's the same class everywhere we go around the world. And we changed our name for reasons we can discuss another time. And the thing is it's the same class every single time, which is what I love. I don't have to think about it. I go, I take it, and I leave. And I feel better because I did it. And I don't have to think about what posture's coming next after you've done it a few times. It's the same class. It's the repetition. A lot of type A personalities, I think. This is it. You know what I mean? But where we're at within each posture definitely varies as individuals. But we're still doing the same thing at the same time. And I digress.
Well, thank you for your honesty. It's really, truly an amazing story, and it's honestly pretty beautiful. When you guys talked about the 26 poses or the 26 postures, is that, I think you said that you run through them 2 times. Do you do 1 through 26, start back at 1 through 26, or do you do the first posture 2 times, the second posture 2 times? How does a class usually work?
Do you want me to take this?
Yeah.
So it's, you walk in the door, you change into your clothes, you come into the room, you lay down a mat and a towel on top of the mat because you're going to be sweating so much, which is that beautiful feeling and that we all crave and really become addicted to. In class, we start with the breathing exercise that's similar to what we did. And then we do everything 2 times in a row. So the idea of the first set is to kind of start to get in it, start to open up the body. And then we pause. And like we talked about in class, the pause is where that magic really starts to happen. The second set is where your practice really starts to deepen. The idea is to start in the second set where you left off on the first set. So you do them in a row. So like half moon, for example, when you went side to side, you would do that and then pause and then go right back to the second set of half moon. You hold it for a less amount of time, and you really start to go very, very deep in it, with the idea being at the end you find the maximum depth. And then when you are practicing regularly, you come back to class and you start from that maximum depth, maybe in the next class. And it kind of depends. The nice thing about that and keeping the same set of 26 and 2 is over time, over a few months, over a few weeks, over a few years, you can really see your practice progress. Because at the beginning, it's like, oh, you know, I never was able to touch my forehead to the front of my legs or straighten my knees here. And then we have these really cool moments that we share as a community where after class, you can come up to, you know, I tell Cleve, like, oh my gosh, Cleve, for the first time today, I touched my forehead to my knee. It was so special and so cool. And it's a really beautiful place, like Cleve said, that, you know, we've been around for 18 years. So you walk outside of the room and you just never know what day that's going to be when you can get from, you know, it was on, you don't like call the postures by numbers, but, you know, on posture 18 today, I did whatever. So we do the postures, we do the breathing exercise twice, each posture twice. We finish with the breathing exercise. So you really know what you're going to get. So you can kind of tune off your mind and just listen to the cues of the teacher. And that's where that meditation starts to happen, within listening to the cues and really putting forth your best effort, learning to breathe in and out your nose only to keep your heart rate down. So you do those postures 2 times in a row, and it's the same 26. And there's a little bit of variation within that, but you know that variation is going to happen before you come to class.
Right. And I'll say this. I've never gone to a class, no matter what kind of day I've had, and every day is different, right? I wake up different every day. I didn't have enough water. I had too much water. Some people are drinking a glass of wine, like someone said recently, I'm feeling that wine. Whatever it might be, or eating something that might, or something, who knows what's going on. You can't assume what somebody's also going through personally and emotionally. So wherever you're at is okay. And we push you, but within, within your own, we tell you to listen to your body. We're never going to push anybody to a point of like, you got to be healthy. You got to learn to listen to yourself. And that's part of the mirror. That's part of the connection with yourself. You're connecting with yourself here. And that's the beautiful part of this type of practice. Within a yoga, really, or anything you're doing in life, right? You want to connect with yourself while doing it. It's not easy to do for me. I struggle with not judging or criticizing myself constantly, right? So in here, if I could criticize myself 5% less because of this class, I'm doing great for me, right? So that's what this helps me do personally too. And meanwhile, I'm getting all the physical byproducts for me. So again, what else you got?
We also want to know about what are some changes you've made to the business in response to the pandemic? So I know that you guys have a YouTube channel. If you want to talk about that a little bit, if you guys have made any other changes in response to COVID-19, can you tell us about those?
Well, here's what I'll say. As my partner's name is Ahu, and she owns a studio in Roswell. She's a wonderful business partner. She's kind of a silent partner for the most part. This studio, she owns 100% of another studio called Corsi in Roswell. And we're both shut down. And Merdith has been gracious enough, along with a couple other teachers, to come here and help us film a lot of the YouTube videos. And some people are asking, why aren't we doing Zoom? And this is a live one, obviously, for a couple of reasons. One, I can't satisfy everybody's schedule, especially with everybody home with their kids, and when can they come to a class? And two, because at your own convenience, you can go to our YouTube channel, because in this particular practice, and I understand why Zoom is happening for a lot of studios and different practices, you do need that visual. And for doing this for the first time, I think you do. So we have great examples on the YouTube for you to be able to watch Merdith or Hannah, another one of our teachers, or Alan. There's a few teachers we have, Sandy, you can hear her voice. And again, because it's the same class every time, once you watch a couple of them, then you're kind of in your own zone doing it, just listening. And I think that's a little more meditative and a little less having to concentrate once you get to know the class. You just kind of be in your moment with yourself now. Yeah. So did that answer, was that your question?
Absolutely. Yeah, that answered the question. Well, I think that's all that we have for you guys. I don't see any other questions coming in. Somebody said, Cleve, that you remind them of Phoebe's pretend boyfriend on Friends. I don't actually know what that means because I've never seen that show, but I hope it's a compliment.
Well, I do, and that's awesome. Thank you. And that's a great show, and I would advise you, it's a great time to go watch Friends. I mean,
I've got nothing but time now.
That's a yoga practice in itself, and it's so funny. You're going to do nothing but laugh, and it's a great time to laugh, right? So.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, maybe that's my next step. I got a couple more meetings today, but then I think I'm going to tackle Friends.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you, Gretel, for being my fabulous co-host. Merdith, Cleve, Still Hot Yoga, and Decatur. We really appreciate it. Thank you for partnering with Yelp Atlanta.
Thank you,
guys. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.